Okay, welcome back everybody. It's Ben. I'm in the shop today. I am just trying to get caught up on some sprayers and some maintenance. It's getting cold, so we're trying to get all the fleet ready, all the sprayers ready, all the guys ready. One of the things that happens is the precision sprayers that we have, these Bell & Gossett or B&G sprayers that we have are very temperamental. You'll notice on this one, excuse the mess, we'll get to that, but right here it's split and it's empty. It was empty in his truck and it got cold enough while he was driving that it split. So this can be replaced. This is about a $40 part, but you can get the wand pieces and you can get any replacement parts. So what I did was I pulled out my box full of parts. I'm going to organize that today, get it ready for maintenance on these things, and then I've got a couple of these I can kind of put together with the few parts that I have. First things first, I've got a very messy work area I've got to work on getting this cleaned up. You can buy any of the parts that you need for these B&Gs. They come big and small, all sorts of parts. What I like to do, I have this box. I had this cleaning solution in it and it spilled, so it made a mess. I've cleaned the box. I'm going to reorganize it, put everything away the way it should be, kind of get an inventory on the parts that I have and what I might need. So we're going to do that real quick. All right, I like to organize and have dividers. Like for example, in my toolbox, my power sprayer drawer has got dividers with all sorts of different parts, and that way I can separate rebuild kits from connectors to filter supplies and stuff like that. So I'm going to do a similar thing in this toolbox. I've got parts that are just used. They're probably old and dirty, but they could still be used. I don't know why, but these were before me. Instead of fixing these or cleaning these, they just replaced them. A lot of these parts are still good, especially these brass ones. And you never know, I may need this one. I keep them just in case we need them. We've got a bunch of parts, and then we've got brand new ones in either their plastic sleeves or these are the old style that tells the part number and everything. But I'm going to go through and clean this up, get some stuff organized in this box, and then we'll start working on some of these sprayers. All right, so I've got my box all organized. All of the extra parts are in their bins. We've got little filters up here. And then now I can go through and order the stuff that I think I'm going to need to have on hand. And I have the parts here for a lot of it. So here's what we've got. This one here. You have to clean these filters out. Okay, so this piece threads in right here and becomes part of the hose. There's this center section. Basically, you undo these threads to get to your filter. What had happened is the filter had fallen down inside of here and was in the hose. And they tried to get it out by just taking this and hitting it on the ground. The problem with that, I don't know if you can tell, but right here it bent the edge of the thread, so it buggered up that brass. So what we need to do, we need to replace that piece with a new one. And now that the filter's clean, we can put this back together and this one will be working again. So that's the first one. That one's super easy. So we're going to get on that real quick. Okay, that one was super easy. I Teflon this. I don't know if you have to because it has a seal in there. Has another one over here. They're little plastic, like O-ring type seals that are supposed to take care of those. But since we never take this one off unless we're replacing a piece, I like to Teflon that one just so it doesn't leak, and then I use the regular one there. They clean these filters once a week, so they do open that up. All right, so now we're just going to test it. All right, it's going to be hard to see this, so we're going to spray it here on a dry spot. Very fine mist. I don't know if we're going to catch that. That's the beauty of these precision sprayers. They're just such a fine mist, you can't even tell. So what I did, the tip on this one was buggered up a little bit, so they've got a new tip, and we'll see if we can clean the other one, maybe get it back working the right way. But this sprayer's fixed for now. All right, I've got 2 more sprayers sitting here. This one you can't really see very well, but there's a cable that goes through this, and when you pull the trigger, it pulls the cable, and the release is actually down here. So this one is not connected, so it's not able to pull the it's not pulling on the cable, which pulls the trigger and allows spray to go through. This one I showed you has got a split. So what I'm going to do really quick, since I'm waiting on a new wand, is I'm going to make one of these work with what we've got. So another thing that happened, this one here has got a bad pump. This needs to be rebuilt. It's just letting air pass through. It's not actually building pressure. Okay, here's the aftermath. There's several parts to the wand section. I went ahead and scrubbed this trigger. It's brass, so you can scrub it with like an SOS pad and it'll clean up pretty good. That's why it looks decent. It looked about how this one looks. Actually, this one's cleaner, but you can scrub these. It's hard to get into the tight spots, and you can obviously see that there's still some dirt and whatnot in the hard to reach areas, but it looks way better and it's cleaner. I would think the guys would want to use them clean. I cleaned this as well. This one is not perfectly straight as it is, but it doesn't have a hole in it, so we're going to use it. There's several other little parts that we'll get to. What we need to replace is the cable. So this is the original cable, and one of the problems was over here there's a threaded end and they broke it. I don't know if they stepped on it or what they did, but they broke the threads off, and we need each end to be threaded, and this was the long end. You see how much they broke off, almost all the threads. So we've got to feed a new cable through the wand and connect it back up to our trigger and put everything back together on our trigger. I may clean up some of this stuff as well so that it can go back together and look clean. This piece is really hard to clean because it's really tight, but the most important thing is clean that surface inside. and this stuff outside, there is a seal right there, that black ring. That is important, so don't lose that. Okay, I want to show you something important here. These little white washers are called packing nuts, and there's, on the 18-inch wands, I know that there's 3 of them in there. And then what goes in next is this little it's a nut with a hole through it, and it's a pain in the butt once you start threading it in there. If you're trying to use a wrench, you're going like not even a quarter turn or 1/8 turn. So the trick that I found, this is a 3/8. Here's what I do. I take my 3/8 nut, I put it on there, I run my extension through the back, and then I can put my ratchet on it if I need to. Typically you're not going to need to go very tight, so you don't even need a ratchet. So you can just tighten it by hand almost, and just barely snug it down. So that's my trick to getting to this. Otherwise it takes you forever with a wrench. Now, the way that this trigger system works is you've got several parts here. I'm going to get the trigger parts out. I've got new ones. So there's 3 parts in this kit. There's the end. This is the last part that sits behind the trigger. Then this is the set nut that goes in front of the trigger. This little black thing that comes with it is just a retainer clip for the stopper. We still have ours, so I'm going to keep this one for later. Actually, I'm going to start this nut onto the threads of our cable. You want to thread that by hand. You're going to have cable behind it. So what we're going to do, we're going to put this on now. We're going to send this through. There we go. I'm going to wait to put the other side on. Then this piece threads on to the end of that, and that's what actually pulls the cable. So we're going to start threading that. They don't make those for guys with big fingers. Okay, now I've got the cable pulled back, so I can drop this one in a little bit further, and this one as well. Now what we're doing is we're trying to figure out where we can set it so that no spray comes out when we put this locker in all the way and it doesn't move. So we're not far, we're too far in at this point. Plus our trigger's kind of high. You don't want it that high. So we'll back this out a little ways. See where this sets. Almost there. You don't want it to pull on the cable at all with the trigger if that's screwed in all the way like that. Then this one can come back, and basically we're going to tighten that nut against that piece that I can put on my screwdriver. those two basically sandwich the trigger, and then that lets the trigger move, which pulls the cable. And if we thread this back in, it doesn't. So this is the lock, so that if it's pressured up and you bump that, it's not going to spray out. A new filter, because the one that came out of it, it's probably still good, but it's really nasty. I got to get it clean, but we'll do that later. Right now I'm going to put a new filter on it. That way we know it works really well. These filters come in two parts. There's this piece and then the screen. You have to kind of squeeze it to get through the screen. Okay, right there. That's how that sits. And then it screws on to the hose of the B&G. But before we put this on there, we need to put our little retaining clip on there. So there's that little black clip. And that's supposed to be on the set screw, basically so you can't unscrew it all the way and lose the set screw. So we'll put that on, and it only goes so far. And then this way it goes to shut it off. Okay, that one's ready, other than this end. So we've got it all cattywampus. Now that we've got this end all done, we can pull the trigger and loosen this. You can pull the trigger, loosen this, and twist this around the right way. Okay, so I put a tip on it, had the black seal in there, and then this retaining ring holds it. What I want to do is I want to get it so it's not, that's close, but I want to twist it over just a little bit more. A little bit straighter. And then we can tighten this. All right, that wand is ready to go. Okay, and the end of this, there is a little white washer seal. So you want to make sure that's in. And all I did was clean it out. Now we'll put these back together. One thing that I forgot was to put the other side of this in. It's not a bad idea to put some Loctite on these. And you basically screw it as tight as you can. It has play in it. But if it's not tight and that falls out, you'll lose your whole trigger. Okay, again, nice fine spray. So this one's good to go too. Okay, so we got a couple of B&Gs working today. Those precision pump sprayers are awesome when they work, and they suck when they don't. So, you know, I tell the guys to keep them clean. You got to clean out the tanks. You've got to clean out the filters. We try to clean our filters once a week. You may need to do it more. Obviously that one wasn't clean because when we pulled the filter out, it was pretty chunky. There's a very small hole. Once you hook that hose up, there's a very small hole where that water is supposed to come through. And if you get any sort of chunk or build up from product, then it'll clog it just like that. And no matter how many times you clean the filter, if you're not cleaning your tank, then it'll clog again. So, you know, a little bit of routine maintenance makes them last longer. I think this one, since the cable broke, it was just gonna be that way. That one was a fail, and it needed to be fixed, and that's okay because we cleaned the stuff out inside. It's working good now. ready to go back out. If you guys are looking for anything in particular, you want to see a full rebuild or a pump rebuild, I did mention the pump. I'll probably do that later on the next one. But any rebuild or any take apart or how to do this or how to do that on a B&G, let me know. I'd be happy to make a video on it. So if you want to see that, just drop what you want to see in the comments below. I did a JD9 rebuild. That video was out a few months ago, so that's a good one. Obviously, you've seen us rebuild our pump sprayers, our 50-gallon sprayers. Backpacks, we'll have a glimpse of that today for you. If there's more stuff you want to see, let me know. I'm happy to try to help you. I'm not an expert, and I may not do it perfectly right, but at least I know, what parts are what and where you can get stuff. So should always have a few parts on hand, especially for those B&Gs. Those brass parts do wear out, or things break, or guys lose stuff. So I try to keep a good supply of everything. Anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for hanging out with us. We will see you guys on the next one.